The air in the cabin grew thick with the smell of damp earth and something metallic, like old blood. Every shadow seemed to pulse with a life of its own, and the walls emitted a low, persistent hum that vibrated in his teeth. His breath hitched as a cold, sticky sensation crawled up his arm, though nothing was there to touch him. From the forest outside came a sound not of animals, but of whispering. Hundreds of voices murmuring just below hearing. The compass on the table spun wildly, and the temperature dropped so sharply his exhales formed visible clouds in the stale air. A primal dread took hold, rooting him to the floor as he realized every reflective surface showed a different room behind him. Something was in here with him, learning his fear, feeding on it, and it had been waiting for a very long time. So why? Why does it keep receiving texts? From my own number? The device vibrated with a sudden, jarring, alert tone, sharp and invasive. John's breath caught in his throat. A sharp, involuntary hitch. The air in the room turned thick and stagnant, carrying the faint metallic scent of ozone. The screen flashed white, revealing a smartphone screen with a single text from John. The message read, 32.7157 degrees north, 117.1611 degrees west. They are coming. You are already here. A quick cut to the title card. Blood red text on a black background that reads, The Hiker Who Kept Receiving His Own Rescue Codes. From 0:30 to 2:30, the backstory unfolds as gentle acoustic guitar music begins. The story begins with sunshine, with that simple, human need to get lost on purpose. John Miller, a 28-year-old data analyst from San Diego, needed a reset. The persistent glow of his screens had blurred into a constant, low hum in the back of his mind. He craved the kind of quiet that wasn't silent at all, just free of that electronic drone. He packed his new GPS watch, a charged satellite messenger, and a map he'd sworn to read. His destination was a remote stretch of the John Muir Trail, a 3-day solo loop through pristine wilderness. His girlfriend Sarah kissed him goodbye, unaware of what awaited in those silent woods. The air already carried the faint, metallic scent of distant storms as he drove toward the trailhead. Sarah waved from the driveway, her voice carrying a warning across the suburban evening. Just send the all good ping every night, she called out, the words hanging in the cooling air. Don't be a hero, she insisted, her tone edged with unspoken apprehension. John smiled, replying with forced lightness. Worst case, I hit the SOS button and they airlift my embarrassed butt out. As the music shifted, a damp chill settled over the quiet street. The first day was idyllic, a postcard of tranquility, but on the second, the sky curdled into a bruised gray, and a dense fog began to creep into the valleys. It was a silent, suffocating blanket that swallowed familiar landmarks whole. The air grew heavy and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth and distant decay. John, emboldened by his technology, pressed onward. His boot then skidded on loose screed. The entire slope gave way with a gritty hiss. It was not a dramatic plunge, but it was enough. His ankles shrieked with every heartbeat, the satellite messenger now useless shards against stone. The world contracted to that pulsing agony, and the fog's cold, damp embrace. A metallic scent of ozone crept through the air, sharp against the earthy rot of wet soil. Then, the wind began its whisper through the pines, a sound like dry bones rattling in the stillness. John's ragged breath hitched with each painful step as he limped forward, the damp bark of a pine tree his only support. A metallic scent, like wet iron, hung in the cold air, clinging to the back of his throat. From the deep shadows, a faint, wet scratching sound began. Slow, deliberate, and far too close. He forced the air into his lungs, whispering to the gathering dark. Okay, think. The watch. The GPS watch was still functioning. He lifted his wrist, its digital face casting a sickly green glow that barely pierced the thickening fog. The faint electronic light was a tiny, desperate island in an ocean of impenetrable gray. A cold, damp chill seeped through his jacket, carrying the faint, metallic scent of ozone. In the dead quiet, the soft, internal hum of the watch's processor was the loudest sound in the world. His GPS watch still held a faint signal coordinates pulsing like a digital heartbeat. The phone showed no service, but its battery glowed full, a single, fragile lifeline. If he could climb to higher ground, find even a whisper of a signal, he might call for help. But the air smelled of damp earth and ozone, a warning that time was already thinning. John began to hobble, following the watch's faintly glowing compass needle through the oppressive darkness. A sudden, sharp buzz vibrated against his thigh, the familiar tone cutting through the silence of the night. His breath hitched, the metallic scent of ozone suddenly sharp in the air as his fingers fumbled against the damp denim. He scrambled for the device, the cold, smooth glass feeling alien and threatening against his skin. The phone's harsh light carved shadows across John's weary, mud-streaked face. A single, cryptic text from an unknown number glowed on the screen. The air in the room grew dense and stale, carrying a faint, metallic scent. John's voice was a dry rasp as he whispered the single, haunting word. Coordinates? That's not far. Maybe a ranger station? A trail out? Did Sarah? He entered the coordinates into his watch, and it plotted a location 2 miles to the east. A flicker of desperate hope ignited within him. Ignoring the sharp protest from his injuries, he forced himself to move, each step a fresh agony. For hours, he pursued that faint digital signal, his world reduced to the crunch of dead leaves and the oppressive dampness of the night air. The scent of wet earth and decay clung to him, a constant reminder of the wilderness that seemed to watch and wait. The fog clung stubbornly to the ground, refusing to dissipate. Around him, the forest fell into an unnatural hush. The chorus of birds abruptly silenced. Only the crunch of his boots and a wind that carried ghostly whispers broke the stillness. He halted. The coordinates finally reached. A small, circular clearing lay before him, utterly empty. Only a fallen, moss-ridden log and a flat, unnatural stone at the center broke the monotony. The air carried the faint, metallic scent of old rain on stone, and the silence felt thick, watchful. No ranger was there to explain the place, for its profound, waiting emptiness. John stumbled into the clearing, his face falling as he sagged against the log, utterly exhausted. The air smelled of damp earth and something faintly metallic, like old iron. His call, "Hello? Is anyone?" was swallowed by the oppressive stillness. From the darkness, a soft, wet scratching sound began. His phone buzzed again. Two quick, insistent vibrations that jolted him from his thoughts. He snatched it out, the screen's glow revealing 2 new messages in the oppressive quiet. The first, from that same unknown number, read simply, "You are close." The second message froze him completely. It came from his own mobile number. John's stomach hollows out as he reads the message. "Check the stone." His breath catches in his throat, a sharp, involuntary gasp that hangs in the heavy air. His thumb scrolls, and his contact list loads. There, amidst the names, is his own. He was texting himself. A wave of cold, greasy dread washed over him, the air suddenly smelling faintly of ozone and old dust. His eyes fixed on the flat stone with grim apprehension. Every step a protest, he limped over and pried the slab up with a gnarled stick. Pressed into the dark soil beneath lay a small, tarnished match case. His hand shook uncontrollably as he fumbled the case open, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and cold metal. Inside the tin was a single slip of yellowed paper, brittle with age. He smoothed it flat to reveal a hand-drawn map of the surrounding terrain, rendered in crude, uneven strokes. In the bottom corner, tucked away in small, unnervingly neat print, were 2 words that halted his breath. The single initial, J, stared back, its simplicity somehow more menacing than any elaborate warning. Miller. Day 2. The fog listens. The air grew heavy with the metallic scent of ozone and damp earth. A low, almost subsonic hum vibrated through the ground, making the bones in his feet ache. John's voice was a choked whisper. "No, this is a sick joke." He flipped the paper over, and there, scratched faintly in pencil, were the exact coordinates he had just followed. The air itself seemed to congeal around him, thick with the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic. In that moment, the solid ground of reality fractured. Was he truly alone? Or was something else moving silently through these woods with him? A stalker, or something far less familiar, now shared the darkness. Or was the forest itself? Remembering, he endured a night of bone-deep, cold, and gnawing terror in that clearing, flinching at every leaf rustle and distant crack. The scent of damp earth and decay clung to him, a cold, sticky dampness seeping through his clothes. At the first gray hint of dawn, his phone buzzed once more. This time, it was a photo. The image was dark and blurry, taking John a full minute to comprehend. It was a photo of this exact clearing, captured from the precise spot where he now sat. In the photo's center, a faint, blurred figure sat upon the log. The damp chill of the log seeped through his jeans as the air grew heavy with the scent of wet earth and decay. John's eyes snapped to the empty log, the room's temperature plunging as if winter had invaded. A metallic scent, like ozone after lightning, filled the air, making his skin prickle. Then, the final transmission arrived. It was from his own number. New coordinates arrived, and with them, a desperate message. "Hurry, I'm still here." Driven by primal terror, John abandoned all caution, his injury forgotten as he ran. The air grew thick, with the scent of damp earth, and something metallic, like old blood. Every ragged breath hitched in his throat, each footfall a frantic drumbeat against the oppressive silence. It wasn't a retreat, but an advance. A terrible, gravitational pull drew him toward those coordinates. The logic was fractured, but the instinct was undeniable. The air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and damp earth. A primal compulsion took hold. He had to see. He had to know what awaited him at the destination his own phone commanded him toward. The fog thickened into an impenetrable, milky wall, deadening all sound to a muffled whisper. A sharp electronic beep from his watch pierced the silence, signaling his arrival. He had arrived. He stumbled into another clearing, a mirror image of the first. At its center stood a lone, dead pine, its branches like skeletal fingers clawing at the gloom. A sharp, metallic scent cut through the damp air as a figure leaned against the trunk. John froze, the damp earth sucking at his boots, his breath catching in his throat. John's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the figure's dark jacket, an exact match to his own. The air grew thick with the scent of wet earth and something faintly metallic, like old pennies. His voice emerged as a fractured whisper, swallowed by the oppressive stillness. Every instinct screamed to flee. Yet he took one hesitant step forward, the floorboards groaning beneath his weight. He sees another figure emerge from the gloom, its hands caked with grime and scraped raw. On its wrist, a GPS watch glints dully in the faint light, the exact model he owns. The air turns thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old iron. A slow, scraping sound begins. The sound of something being dragged through underbrush. Every hair on John's body stood rigid. This wasn't some stranger staring back. It was his own reflection, trapped in the grimy glass. John's voice was barely a whisper. "Number." John's hand shot out, trembling so violently he could barely control it. His fingers brushed the figure's shoulder, and the air grew thick with the scent of ozone and damp earth. Slowly, impossibly slowly, the figure began to turn its head. In his other hand, John's phone erupted with a screech of static so deafening it vibrated through his bones. John's eyes locked onto the screen, where a live photo stared back at him. The image was captured from below, his own features contorted in pure dread as he reached out. Taken today, but timestamped for 2 minutes in the future. A metallic scent of ozone filled the air as the impossible truth settled in his gut. He stumbled backward, a strangled cry tearing from his throat. When his gaze lifted again, the space beneath the dead tree was empty. Only twisted bark remained where the figure had stood. But at the mossy base, a new object waited. His shattered satellite messenger lay there, impossibly displaced. It should have been 2 miles back. At the sight of his fall, a metallic scent hung in the damp air as he staggered forward and picked it up. As his fingers closed around the object, his vision swam and blurred. A flash, not a memory, but a raw sensation of plummeting through empty space seized him. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and ancient dust. Then, from every direction at once, his own voice echoed, warped and impossibly slow, screaming, "I'm still here!" His frantic cries echoed through the frozen woods, a desperate mantra against the encroaching dark. The metallic scent of the stream water mingled with the damp, earthy smell of the forest floor where he lay. His consciousness frayed, a hypothermic delirium where the line between the real and the imagined dissolved. Then, through the fog, came the blessed sound of voices and the sight of rescuers emerging from the mist. Search and rescue finally located John Miller 2 days later, miles from his intended route, battered and broken. He was found in a state of severe exposure, dehydration, and with a badly fractured ankle. John was incoherent, muttering feverishly about phantom texts and seeing his own double in the woods. Rescue teams attributed his ramblings to trauma, but the scent of ozone and damp earth clung to his clothes, hinting at something more. Back home, John sat in the darkness, his repaired phone resting silently in his palm. The device's battery had died completely, while his GPS watch data had corrupted into impossible, overlapping loops. Officials had dismissed it as tragic disorientation, a simple case of a man who lost his way. But as he stared into the dark, a sticky, metallic scent seemed to cling to the air, and the silence felt less like absence and more like a held breath. The monitor's blue light carved hollow shadows across John's face. He returned to his routines, his screens, his data streams, yet the air carried the faint, metallic scent of ozone, a phantom of his ordeal. Some glitches are not in the code. They're etched into the mind, unpatched and waiting. He changed his number. He threw the watch away. But sometimes, in the dead of night, when the world is quiet, a metallic scent, like ozone, pricked the air. John's phone, on the coffee table, suddenly illuminated. No notification. The screen remained a stark, glowing white. The camera crept forward, its focus narrowing on that dark pane of glass. In the glass, John's own reflection stared back, unnaturally still. A sharp, metallic scent filled the air as he realized his reflection wasn't moving at all. John's double remained motionless, its vacant gaze fixed ahead, as the real John glanced at his phone. A heavy dread settled in his chest as he pondered the impossible. The coordinates he'd received weren't for any place on a map. They were a gateway to something else entirely. They were created for a specific moment in time, a fragment of pure terror, condemned to loop eternally. So we must confront the chilling question. Was John Miller ever truly rescued, or did he only escape, leaving behind a terrified, fading copy of himself? A remnant forever waiting for a rescue that already happened, forever texting into the void, trying to guide a ghost home. The phone screen dimmed, fading into an abyssal blackness. Then, a single line of text materialized, spectral and fleeting, before vanishing into the void. The coordinates were not for a distant, forgotten place. They mapped a single point in San Diego, John's own front door. Absolute darkness swallowed the frame, punctuated by the warped, digital shriek of a final notification.